Alongside this timeline of Sara's childhood is a timeline of institutional failings to keep her alive. Even before she was born, social services knew that she needed protection from her father. Irfan Sharif was known to police over a decade before he and his wife Bainash Batul murdered his 10-year-old daughter. Next week here at the Old Bailey, Irfan Sharif, Bainash Batul and Faisal Malik will all be sentenced for their role in Sara Sharif's death. But the big questions now are for social services, for the police and the family courts, who are all aware of Irfan Sharif's record of domestic violence and child abuse, even before Sara was born, and yet allowed her to remain in the care of Irfan Sharif. As early as 2011, Irfan Sharif had been referred to social services alongside Sara's birth mother, Olga. Both would be accused of domestic violence and child neglect. When Sara was born 2 years later, she was deemed at risk and subject to care proceedings alongside other children in the family. Irfan Sharif had already been accused of attacking several women and holding a woman at knife point. On multiple occasions, Sara was placed with foster carers, but returned to her mother in 2015 after Olga split from Irfan Sharif. But the turning point happened in 2019. Sara alleged that her birth mother Olga had tried to drown and burn her, and the judge, familiar with years of concern about Irfan Sharif, ruled that Sara could live with him. Despite the allegations against Irfan Sharif, Sara's father was allowed to remove her from school and teach her at home. The question is, why did this not raise alarm bells?
This is about violence, it's about abuse, it's about making sure there's protection and safeguards for children, particularly those being homeschooled. So that's where I think the questions are.
Since the trial here, those questions are growing as more details emerge. We now know that there were missed opportunities to save Sara, and a serious review is underway. But the concern is that Sara's story is part of a wider pattern of safeguarding failures. In the last year, over 150 children died following abuse, and in total, there were 330 serious incident notifications where abuse or neglect is known or suspected after a child is seriously harmed. Of these numbers, over a third were babies under the age of 1. What is the threshold for intervention in families like the Sharif household? What is the threshold for saying, actually, we need to intervene and remove these children?
There are tens of thousands of children that are currently on child protection plans across England and Wales that are being managed and they are being kept safe. So I think we have to place Sara's tragic case in that context. However, I think we have to acknowledge that the professionals that are working in this sphere have an incredibly difficult job. They are under intense pressure, but there is no doubt that the thresholds that are being applied around the country, dependent upon where you are and dependent what your assessment of the risk is and your assessment of the risk tolerances are different.
The hope is this difference can be settled for children like Sara. For too long, child protection has been a game of roulette at a cost that is far too high to pay.